guess, disagreements.
I said my issue with you was your synopsis of the 9 iron rules. Yeah, you did a 10-minute video on the 9 iron rules.
Okay.
And I felt like it was very misleading and misinformational.
Okay.
And I have the 9 iron rules here. So if you actually could queue up your video, maybe screen share that. And
sure. We can do that.
Point out where my discrepancies are with you.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. Do you remember which? I did several videos. Do you remember which one it was?
It was the one that you sent me.
I sent you one?
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, here, Glenn, look at this one. It was about the 9 iron rules. It wasn't in your phone. It was in your feed, your live stream a couple days ago. When you had that.
Oh, okay.
He made no sense, and then he kept on trying to talk about it with you.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Let me share my screen. 9 iron rules of Rollo Tomassi.
See, is it this one, right? Yep. The 9 iron. So yeah, let's just play the video and we can go through your critiques one at a time.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Full screen it.
Not me trying to bash you. I think that you are trying to help men. I'm not sure if you're a grifter. I don't want to say that you are, but I think you are, adequately trying to, generally trying to help men out in the dating market. And but I just think that your synopsis of this was a little misleading or misinformational. So I just really wanted to debate these miscommunications, and then
okay, let's do it. So let's just jump right into the video. We'll just play the whole thing. Maybe I'll play it like 1.5 speed, so it's a little bit. Actually, we can just play it at regular speed. I think that'll be fine.
Regular speed, and then if we don't mind,
actually, yeah, let's do 1.25 speed, so it goes by a little faster. Okay, let's do it.
Rules that Rollo Tomassi talks about in his infamous book, The Rational Male, and we're going to break down whether these rules are legit or full of shit. All right, so let's jump right into Rollo Tomassi's 9 iron rules. We're going to go in reverse order for dramatic effect. So rule number 9. Never seriously self-deprecate with women you intend to be with. So he's basically saying just own your shit, right? Like, for example, let's say you were feeling off one night, you had a bad day. Don't send her a text like, oh, I'm so sorry, I was a little off that night. Just fucking own that. And this one is very true, 100% agree. So this one is legit. Rule number 8, let the woman figure out why she won't fuck you. Don't do it for her. So this is kind of weird wording, but what he's trying to get at is like, don't just fucking go in, just expecting rejection. Like, don't self-sabotage yourself. Like, give it your honest shot with every chick. Don't put her on a pedestal. Don't think she's better than you. And then, let the cards unfold. Like, if she decides not to fuck you, it should be because she decided that for whatever reason, not because you gave her a reason because you were insecure. And this one is also very true. So I would say this one's 100% legit, but this is not anything new. This is common, knowledge in the pickup community. Like, yeah, of course, like, if you have a goal, don't go in expecting to fail. Like, you'll fail if it comes to gym, if it comes to your finances, comes to your business, whatever. Like, you want to go in expecting to win. Rule number 7, time is better spent building new relationships than trying to save failed relationships. Very true as well. So again, the point here is that, like, okay, let's say you're in a relationship and your chick cheats on you and, relationship, spirals downhill. And then let's say, you give an opportunity to either work on that relationship and try to fix it, or go out and meet a new girl and start a new relationship. He's saying that your time is going to be much better spent trying to start the new relationship. And I largely agree with this one as well. As I always say, when it comes to dating, there's 3 factors, right? There's you, or let's say 3 entities. There's you, there's the girl, and then there's the relationship. So maybe you and the girl really like each other, but the relationship is bad because of, let's just say a lot of resentment and shit that has happened. That's going to be very hard to overcome. It's much better than to spend all your energy fixing on that, because you're always going to have that elephant in the room. It's much better to just learn from your mistakes if, it was something that you did. And, there's always going to be something you can learn from every relationship. Even if it was 100%, let's just say the girl's fault, you still chose to date that girl. Right. So that shows that, you didn't select your mate, to the best of your ability. So that's still something you can learn and just apply that in your relationship. So this one is also legit. Rule number 6, women can't unconditionally love a man. So what he's saying is that, men sometimes fantasize that, like, I'm me, a girl who just loves me for me. And then, she's just going to basically unconditionally love me. And he's saying that doesn't exist. Right. And this one is all.
I'm assuming so far you agree with me.
No.
Oh, okay. Because so far I'm just saying positive things about him. But okay. What do you disagree with so far?
This is especially 6, and I agree with what you're saying, what you're trying to get at. But let's really look at the rules, because I think if you're going to do the rules or repeat the rules, I think it's good to read them in the context that he wrote them in, so people can understand it, and then give your synopsis of it. Because you're just going the basic rule, but not really giving the meat of what he's saying and giving your own synopsis. So never self-deprecate. You did a pretty good job at giving that, explanation. If you don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It was such a bad day. I'm such a jerk. I'm such a dork. Oh my God." Yeah, great. You don't do that. Yeah, you know what? I had an off night. My bad. Let's move on. That was good. Rule number 8: never let a woman, or always let the woman figure out why she won't fuck you. Don't do it for her. Right? He's basically saying that there's no such thing as leagues. Guys saying, "Oh, she's out of my league." Well, by saying that, you just figured out why the woman won't fuck you for her. Let her figure that out. Let her determine whether or not you are worthy of her time or not. Don't just automatically assume that she's out of your league and not worth your time. It's a little different.
We're saying the same thing. I mean, that's basically what I said too.
But this is literally what he's saying. Okay, and then rule number 7 was right. It's always better time invested in new relationships than failed relationships. It's like digging in the trash can in the front yard for something that you think is valuable, but when you get down to the bottom of it, you realize it's not as valuable, and you just made a mess in front of everybody. That's really what he's saying when it comes to failed relationships. And you did a good job. I'll give you credit for that one, saying that it's better time invested in new relationships when something like cheating or something, drastic happened in a relationship that caused you guys to break. Because if a girl cheated on you, that's always going to be the elephant in the room in a relationship if you're trying to repair it.
Yeah, but we're literally 100% agreeing on everything so far. Like, what do you disagree with me then? Like, then we completely agree. You just basically said what I've been saying, right?
This is where we're wrong, though. You said, and I quote your words, I think you said, "Women are incapable to love you unconditionally."
Well, that's his rule, right? It's not mine.
If you want to play it back,
yeah,
play back a little bit.
Okay.
Rule number 6.
Okay. That you did, and still something you can learn and just apply that in your relationship. So this one is also legit. Rule number 6: women can't unconditionally love a man.
So yeah, so that's his rule. I'm using his.
Oh, I am rule number 6. Now read it. I have it right.
Women can't unconditionally love a man. Yeah.
No. I'm reading it. It says women are utterly incapable of loving a man in the way that a man expects to be loved. In simplicity, this speaks volumes about the condition of men. It is accurately expressed in pervasively nihilism that men must either confront or accept, or be driven insane in denial for the rest of their lives when they fail to come to terms with the delusion. Meaning that a woman could love a man, but she does not love the man the way that a man thinks that she ought to love him. See, women love idealistically. Men love idealistically. Women love opportunistically. That's why the story of hypergamy, you have hypergamy women always dating up, wanting to get with someone that's, you've been with somebody for 3 years, and next thing you know, she's not interested in you no more, but you've been doing all the right things. What is wrong? Okay, it's opportunistically in their love language, or if you want to call it a love language. But you never said women can't love unconditionally. And that's where I have a little problem with you, because you're quoting him, but not quoting him. You're misquoting him. And that's
I'm saying the same thing, but what you just said is much more like long-winded. Like, I can't fit all that on a screen. Like, that would be like 2 paragraphs. But the message is exactly the same. Women can't unconditionally love a man. Right. Yeah, exactly. They can't unconditionally love a man. Like, means, without conditions. Like, if the man gets fat or becomes a leader or becomes needy, they won't love him anymore. Which, yeah, I agree with that. Like, that's a rule that I'm agreeing with.
But nobody loves, but my problem with it is the verbiage. If you're going to quote somebody, then you got to quote them verbatim. And that's the problem. I say that essay is misleading. I'm not saying everything that you're saying is wrong. I'm saying that what you're saying is misleading, because he never said that, anything about unconditional love, other than the fact that he doesn't believe in unconditional love. And the unconditional love is a lie that Disney has sold us. Right?
You're saying, what was exactly the rule? It's like women can't unconditionally. What was it? Read it to me again.
Women are utterly incapable of loving a man in the way that a man expects to be loved.
Where's the unconditional part? I think you said unconditional.
There's none. That's where you're saying it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's still the same thing. This is just like, I guess, a much more short phrase way of saying it. But women can't love a man in the way he expects him to love, which means a man, the way man expect women to love them is unconditionally, right? Like where, oh, this chick just is fully like in love with me for me, right? No, there are conditions. It's based on.
You just said you don't believe in unconditional love. So if you don't believe in unconditional love, then you obviously don't believe a woman is going to love you unconditionally.
I don't. Yeah.
Okay, so then men don't expect women to love them unconditionally.
Well, some men do for sure.
But yes, for those that
I'm different. I've been in the game for like 10 years. So yeah, what I think is largely different than what the average guy thinks.
Well, obviously, but what I'm saying is you're misquoting. You could agree that you are misquoting him.
No, I don't agree. I'm misquoting him because I'm not saying this as like a quote. I'm just short. It's shorthand. Like the actual rule itself is like 2 paragraphs, so I can't put that on the screen. But I don't think I'm misinterpreting. Like I don't think I'm like.
Would you say you could fit women are utterly incapable of loving a man in the way the man expects to be loved? That's a sentence. I mean,
women aren't capable of loving a man the way he expects to be loved, but that's basically the same thing as women can't unconditionally love a man.
But no, it's different. The verbiage is different. What you're trying to get to, the point, yes, it's similar. But what I'm saying is the verbiage, the words that you choose.
But who cares? But who cares about the verbiage if the point is the same?
Well, but you're saying words don't. By saying that, you're saying words don't have meaning. And
no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I don't think it matters what verbs you use as long as the meaning is the same.
But when you're saying like, hey, these are Rollo's 9 iron rules, and I'm going to just read them and quote them, then you're quoting them saying that this is what he said. And that's not what he said. That is misleading.
But the meaning, first of all, I'm agreeing with the rule. So I'm saying I agree with this.
But what's irrelevant is the fact that you're misquoting him. And you have to agree that you are technically misquoting him, regardless if you're saying, well, you put up a short version of a synopsis of what he said, you're still misquoting him.
Yeah, I guess in a way. I mean, I'm not really trying to like quote him per se. I'm just trying to like make the video like flow, and so I'm just trying to get like the summary of the rule. Like this is not in quotations, right? Like I'm not actually putting it in like quotations, which I think then would be misquoting. But yeah, I guess like technically you're right. I am like misquoting him in a way, but I don't think it's like in a substantial way that like ruins the meaning or is misleading. I think furthermore, it's a moot point because I'm agreeing with the rule. So that would be like, you and I having debate, and you're like, yeah, man, I think that, in your video, you were correct and you made some really good points. And I'm like, dude, but like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, bro, I'm trying to agree with you here. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of like a bizarre argument.
If I was going to do a video off you and I said that, you said something about, being in an open relationship is, great. No problem. Your girl go bang somebody, right? But you never said that. You said that, yeah, you've tried an open relationship, and and I go around saying, well, Alex saying that, yeah, he does open relationships and he lets his girl go bang whoever he wants. I'm generalizing it, saying that you've done it, but I'm misquoting you. In a sense, that's kind of what this is.
But you don't feel like you're kind of like just debating me on semantics right now? Like this is pure semantics?
On principle of it, because when you do a quote, when I do a quote of somebody, I'm quoting the words verbatim and saying this is what they said and this is what they mean.
Well, you got to keep in mind this is not a quote per se because there's no quote. So if it was a quote, like if I'm using an exact quote, there's going to be quotations. So
what is your title for this?
The 9 iron rules of Rollo Tomassi, legit or BS.
So then what you're doing is you're reading, you're telling your audience you're reading his rules and you're giving your opinion of them. Right.
Well, I'm saying like those are the rules, and I feel like my summary is accurate. Like, would you say my summary is inaccurate in this? Like, I'm missing the point or something?
I'm not saying you're missing the point. I'm saying it's misleading because if Rollo would say that he believes that women should love men unconditionally, or that he believes in unconditional love, then I'll be like, okay, then you have a point. But in all of his books and all of his work, he says he destroys unconditional love. So by saying women can't love a man unconditionally, it's almost like saying, but he still hopes that that men believe that unconditional love. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to say that he doesn't even believe in unconditional love, and he says this by also saying women can't love men unconditionally. Then I could agree with you on that. But the wording is a little misleading, and that's where I'm saying we got to be watching our verbiage. If we're going to be quoting somebody, we need to quote them. We got to do the due diligence of quoting them accurately, and then giving our synopsis.
I think misleading is the wrong word. You can use the word inaccurate, and I would agree with it. Technically it's inaccurate, but misleading implies that I'm trying to change the meaning, which we agree the meaning is the same. So it's not misleading. You can say it's inaccurate, and that would be technically correct. But I think it's kind of a moot point because I'm literally agreeing with the rule. Like I'm saying this makes sense, and I don't think you're saying that like I got it wrong. I just like used the correct terminology. Which, okay, I'll accept responsibility for that. I didn't quote him perfectly. Like, okay.
But what you do to get wrong is that you only read the first sentence and not read the rest of it and explain that. And that's part of the whole rule. You read the first sentence of the rule, women can't love men unconditionally, or women are utterly incapable of loving a man the way men ought to, or thinks that he should be loved. Now men are going, well, fuck it. Now women just can't love me the way I ought to be loved, and fine, whatever. Done with women. Because you have a lot of guys, not in your community, I don't know so much, but out there that will read just that first sentence and then go straight black pill and be like, oh, I'm going to be.
Nah, I disagree with that assessment for two reasons. One is because I explain it afterwards. And I explain what he means, and my explanation is correct. And two, I'm saying I agree with it, which means like, hey, I endorse this rule. This is something I would teach on my channel, and my channel is not black pill or MGTOW. So no, I think because I explained it afterwards, I think you'd be very hard pressed to come to that conclusion. You can make the argument that I got some words, some verbiage wrong, and that I would agree with that. But I don't think like people are going to come to the incorrect conclusion because I use some wrong words.
But do you feel that a woman could love a man?
Of course, a woman can love a man.
Now, can a woman love a man for a long period of time? Because when he continues, and you continue reading, when he goes into the way women love opportunistically and way men love idealistically, I tell guys all the time, you know, if you don't want to worry about your girl cheating on you or stepping out on you or, you know, not being interested in you, then always be the best option that she sees. Always work on yourself, always level yourself up, always be the best option she sees.
Yeah, sure. I agree with that. But what does that have to do with like what I'm saying?
Huh? That's what he alludes to in the rest of the iron rule number 6. He's like, women love opportunistically. So always be the best opportunity she sees. There's no such thing, but that's something that you're not saying in this.
Well, because I mean, like that's not really a fair critique because he has a very long book. He has a lot of books, and this is a 10-minute video. There's no way I'm going to be able to get every single thing he's saying in a 10-minute video. That's just like physically impossible. So I have to cut some things out. Like that has to be done. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a 10-minute video. This would be a 10-hour video.
No, I get that, but wouldn't you say that to do these right? Would you say to do these right that you probably should have done a more in-depth video? Like you could have this video.
No, I don't, because I think I got the essence of the rules correct. Okay. I think I didn't like this video is not like every single critique I have of Rollo or every single thing Rollo is right or wrong about. Yeah, that would be a 10-hour video because he has so much shit that he says. This is just simply talking about the iron rules, and we agree I got the essence of this rule correct. So I'm not even really sure what we're disagreeing about. Like I got the essence of the rule. I just didn't get a chance to cover all the other stuff he says. That's why I have more videos on Rollo. I have a video that's like 25 minutes long where I get into more detail. But this is a 10-minute video. It's like a quick summary video. I can't possibly cover every single thing.
Hold on, you did admit that you were inaccurate. So that's what I was saying. That's what I'm glad you admitted that because that was one of my problems. I was like, it's a little inaccurate. If you're gonna do a quote, you should quote somebody more accurately.
Well, again, I'm gonna keep saying this. Like I wasn't like quote. If there was a quote, there would be quotations, right? It's not a quote because there's no quotations. So this is just like my summary. Yeah, I used the wrong verbiage. Sure, I'll grant that. I don't think it like in any way misleads the viewer.
It's the principle. It's the principle of it. You have to admit that you could anytime somebody quotes somebody or read something that someone allegedly said, if I read a text from you and I in place another word other than a word that you said, then you would say, hey, I didn't say that. And that's basically what I'm saying. He didn't say this.
Right, but if you got the summary correct, I wouldn't care. Like if you got the summary, like I have a video on, for example, over gaminess, right? And in the video, I make the argument that over gaminess hurts guys. And if you're like, hey, Alex says that over gaminess is bad. Well, I don't actually say it's bad. I just say it doesn't work. Like I wouldn't make an issue of it. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like you got the essence of my point across. I don't really care if you like use your own vocabulary as long as you didn't butcher my meaning.
But that's your opinion. That's all I'm saying. Is like what you're saying is your opinion. I'm just saying you were inaccurate when you read his thing. Since you don't want to use the word quoted, we'll just say when you read his iron rule, you were inaccurate in rereading it for the synopsis. And I'm saying that is when you're quoting somebody or going to read their work, you want to be a little bit more thorough.
I mean, I didn't read it verbatim. That's true. I didn't read it verbatim, but I did get the essence correct. I mean, that's like an interesting critique, especially because I'm literally agreeing with his rule. Like, we're not disagreeing on anything. Like it's just like, I don't know, like this is just pure semantics at this point.
You can solve semantics. I look at it, the details. It's the details. The details.
But do you acknowledge that in a 10-minute video, it's impossible to get all the details the way they should be?
Well, then you could have just made a 12-minute video and just read it 2 minutes.
No, dude, it would have to be like a 2-hour video. There's no.
I agree, but I'm saying you could have put more time into it. But let's continue. Let's continue.
I mean, sure, I could have, but then again, like a 2-hour video has a completely different effect than a 10-minute video. Like if I do a 2-hour video, like no one's gonna watch it, So I do have like long live streams where I get more in depth, but this is like this is clearly meant to be a synopsis summary video. It's not meant to be like the full plot.
Again, even in most synopsis, they quote them better. They quote people better.
But you keep using that word, but I'm not actually quoting him. I'm just giving a summary.
Well, if you're
not quotes.
Saying Rollo said this, and that's not what he said. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm saying the rule is this, and the summary of the rule is correct, but the words I use is different. But even though those words are different, it still takes you to the same exact conclusion, which is like we're not disagreeing about where the conclusion that I'm taking people to. It's like, yeah, women are not capable of loving men unconditionally the way most men think. I'm using slightly different words to get there, but we're still getting to the same place. So I feel like it doesn't really matter. Like this is just shorthand, and like I don't think that's like me being disgenuine in any way.
No, but but again, like I said, when you quote somebody, you quote them, or if you're going to use somebody, the title says this is Rollo's 9 Iron Rules. So somebody that never read Rollo's work and they're watching your video, they're going to say, oh, well, it must be Rollo wrote this rule that women can't love men unconditionally. So that just must be in it because Alex said so.
Well, that's what Rollo believes, and that's what I believe. Like we both agree that women can't love men unconditionally. We all agree on that.
Love, period. But he's not saying not just women doesn't love men unconditionally. He's saying men can't love unconditionally either. So that's where I'm saying if you call it semantics, call it semantics you want, but it's literally still inaccurately rephrasing what he said. But let's move on. That's
okay. Sure, we can do that because I feel like we're kind of getting to the weeds. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is that, men sometimes fantasize that like I'm a girl who just loves me for me. And then, she's just going to basically unconditionally love me. And he's saying that doesn't exist. Right. And this one is also very true. So I think that a good way to put it is that women can absolutely love a man just like men can absolutely love women. However, let's say, you get married, right? And initially, she loves you because you're this, awesome guy who's there for her and who's just, high value. But then you start letting yourself go and you get fat. And then, maybe you're not on your purpose anymore. And you get a little needy, get a little, grumpy. Maybe you don't fuck her as well anymore. Maybe you start losing attraction. So you're not into the sex, right? That love is not going to last forever. It's not unconditional. Now, of course, there are some exceptions. There are some situations where women will truly unconditionally love a man, like no matter how much shit the man does. But in reality, that's just not human nature, right? Like people fall in and out of love, right? So again, don't expect unconditional love. It's important to maintain attraction. If you want more information on that, you can check out this video.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really got the essence of it. I just used my own words to get there. But okay, let's.
So I think this one is also 100% legit. Like the only unconditional love that really exists is kids, parents, and pets. Rule number 5, never let a woman be in control of the birth control. So the point he's making here is that, like if you, let's say you start, where you're having sex without condom, a woman might trick you into thinking that she's on birth control, but then, in reality, like she's not, and then she's going to get pregnant with your kid and you're going to be fucked for alimony and whatever child support. So this one, I would say, is largely fucking paranoid and bullshit. Yes, that will happen if you're hooking up with, let's just say, ghetto crazy girls who are like hood rats and who like their version of success is getting pregnant with your child and getting, child support, right? But normal, decent girls don't fucking think like that. Don't do that. Like, I can't imagine any of the girls I hook up with ever even entertaining this notion, right? So if you are hooking up with those kind of girls, I think the issue isn't like fucking hiding your condoms, but raising your standards, like hooking up with a higher caliber of girls. And also, like, it just seems like when you're going to be in a relationship and you're going to fucking wear a condom, like, that just sounds miserable. Like, one of the best things about being in an exclusive relationship is you don't have to worry about STDs anymore, and you're only sleeping with each other, so you can have sex without condom, right? Like, but that does involve some element of trust. Like, if you really can't trust a girl with that, then honestly you should not be in a relationship because you can't trust her with anything else. Like, that just seems like extremely silly. So
okay, I'm assuming you disagree with my assessment here.
Yeah, because well, let's just say again, inaccurately stating what he said. He says, and I'll read it here: never allow the woman to be in control of the birth, not the birth control.
I mean, dude, that's literally like the same thing.
No,
like, what's the difference?
Is, and you can call it paranoid, but what he's saying is, if you are sleeping with a woman, protect yourself. Now, he didn't say in a relationship. Okay, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're married and you're trying to start a life together, of course, having kids is going to be something that you're going to be talking about and you're going to plan out accordingly. He's just saying, make sure that when a woman gets pregnant by you, it's on your terms, not her terms. And there was a video. There's also an article that the NBA came out with. I forgot what year it was. I think it was in like 2006 or something like that. And it was advising NBA players to, when they have sex with women on the road, to
I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because women were taking the seed in the condom and trying to impregnate themselves so they could get these guys for child support. All right. And he's just saying, it's whenever you are going to engage with a woman and you're planning a future and you want to have kids, make sure it's on your terms and it's not on an accident. Like, if you don't want to have kids at this time, then you do the necessary things to prevent yourself from having kids. Be in control of whether or not when she gets pregnant and who gets pregnant. And I don't think that's something paranoid. I think that's kind of common sense.
Can you read the rule verbatim for me, please?
Yes. Never allow a woman to be in control of the birth. Meaning, never allow the woman to determine when she gets pregnant.
I mean, there's ways to there's different ways to interpret that. The actual rule is never allow a woman to be in control of the birth.
Yeah.
The way I kind of interpreted it, and maybe I interpreted it incorrectly, but the way I interpret it is that you should always like have to cover up. Like you can't, like, for example, if a girl's like, oh, I'm on the pill, like, you can't trust her. Like, you have to just still wear a condom, which I saw as being paranoid.
Let's say hypothetically here, Alex is at the club, right? Some girls, giving them the googly eyes. Alex is like, damn, she's hot. I'm gonna take her home. And you take her home and she's like, oh, don't worry, we don't need protection, I'm on the pill. And then Alex like, fine, I'm gonna go raw, right? Alex goes raw, busting her. And then 4 weeks later or 6 weeks later, she comes up to Alex, because actually she started looking at Alex's YouTube and see Alex got a little clout going on. He's doing something for himself.
I don't know if I have enough clout to be significant, but I see your point. Of course, I get that.
Pregnant and it's yours. And you're like, well, wait a minute, you were just a one-night stand. Shit, now I got to deal with this bullshit. I thought you said,
no, dude, I get all that. Like, I'm not like going out there and raw dogging random chicks. I agree with that. Like, yeah, obviously you want to be careful as a man, for sure. That makes sense. The way I interpret it, and like, maybe I interpreted it incorrectly, but the way I interpret it is not so much that, like, the way I think of it is like, yes, you should be careful. Generally speaking, try to wear condoms. Like, don't trust random hoes. But the way I interpreted what he was saying was like, never, ever trust a girl with anything related to birth control. That's the way I interpret it. So as like a strong statement of like, never do it. No exceptions. If your relationship doesn't matter.
also, what he's also saying is like, okay, if you think about this, do you know 10 to 30% of men are fathering children that they believe that is theirs, that is not theirs? That's
I don't know, but how would they even like prove that? Like they would have to be like genetic testing down.
the statistics, but that is a statistic. I think it was Pew Research that did that. And
sure, I guess I can kind of believe that. Sure, but what's the significance?
So the whole point of that is what he's saying is being controlled at birth is know that this woman who's pregnant is pregnant with your kid. Don't ever have the mistake of, hey, you know what, you hooked up with some chick one time or a few times raw, and now she's coming back saying that she's pregnant with you, with your kid, and now you're going to be taking on this responsibility because she told you it's yours, not knowing that if it's yours or not. That's really what he's trying to say, is like, protect yourself, because you don't know necessarily whether or not, until you get a paternity test, whether that child is yours or not. And in most states, the doctors, when they do the blood work, they don't have to tell you whether or not that if the child is biologically yours or not, unless you petition for a paternity test. So what he's not trying to be paranoid, he's just telling guys, hey, protect yourselves when you're out there, laying the pipe, playing, plumber with these chicks, protect yourself and wear a condom, which is common sense.
Yeah, I agree. That's common sense. That's something I also do. I mean, I think we just interpret this rule differently. Like we just interpret it differently. Like I interpret it as him.
But would you say, like,
the way you interpret it makes sense. I agree with what you're saying. Like everything you're saying makes sense and has always been common sense to me. So I'm not disagreeing with anything you just said. I just didn't interpret it in that way. Because again, and that could probably lead to the next point that Rollo maybe could have worded that a lot better and could have said it like, hey guys, listen, be careful when you're fucking around. Make sure you don't accidentally get random hoes pregnant. Like that all makes sense. And then I wouldn't be like criticizing that. But the way I think this is just poor wordage on his part. But honestly, that's not how I interpret it.
Well, I'm not sure if you watched any of his videos or read any of his material.
I watched a good amount of his content, yeah.
When he done the 9 Iron Rules back with, this is years ago. He really did actually explain this. He did like an hour and a half podcast on just this rule alone. What does it mean? And he goes into detail talking about it. So, yes, he was very straight to the point, never allowed a woman to be controlled at birth. But when he actually, expands on it, he tells you what he's talking about. Even with what he's just said right here, again, you inaccurately quoted him. You said never be control of the birth control, So that was.
I mean, I didn't like. Okay, you keep using the word quote, but I keep telling you, I'm not quoting.
Okay,
no quotations. I took 2 words and I got them wrong, and it wasn't intentional. But okay, I'll agree to that. But it's like the rule is pretty. The way he words it in the book is pretty. I guess like vague. So you and I just interpreted it totally differently. Like,
okay, that's fine. But would you say the way that I interpreted it would be a little bit would you make you agree with that rule?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's cool. We can move on.
Yeah, I think that's common. That's common sense. What you're saying. Yeah, I've always agreed with that. Yeah, of course, you don't want to go around busting in random hoes. Like that makes sense, obviously. But I think also, dudes, like you don't want to be paranoid to the point where like you have sex with a girl and the only thing you're thinking about is, oh fuck, I hope she doesn't go in the bathroom, dig up the condom and put it in her pussy. Like the kind of chicks, normal girls don't do stuff like that. It's only like ghetto ratchet chicks. Going back to the basketball thing, what you were saying, the reason they had to tell basketball players that is because basketball players are notorious for fucking ghetto ratchet chicks. Like normal, regular chicks don't do shit like that. They don't go in the condom, dig out condoms and fucking drip it in their pussy. That's like really ghetto ratchet behavior. So I guess the point I was trying to make is like, hey, like obviously use some common sense or precaution, but don't be paranoid. Like if you have a girlfriend, like don't feel like you have to wear a condom all the time. Like if you trust your girlfriend that you can fuck her raw, it's okay.
Would you agree that the statement is if common sense was so common, everybody would have it?
If common sense was so common, no, because a lot of people are really dumb and a lot of people don't have any common sense.
Common sense, people don't have common sense no more these days. So you and I can say that's common sense. We get it, but most men, younger guys, people that are not aware don't get it. So he has to word it in a way, the way that I regurgitated it to you. You call it common sense, but it's a way because there's a lot of people that don't have common sense, and you just admitted that. So it's like,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, I mean, I agree with I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't think it was as paranoid as I just said it. Because I don't think the way I said it was paranoid. I think it was just covering your bases, protect yourself from any misfortune that you don't want to have.
We're both kind of doing some speculation. When you say something in a very vague way, then that leaves it open for speculation. And so I'm not saying that maybe your interpretation is correct. It seems like you're a lot more familiar with Rollo's content than I am. Like I didn't watch that hour and a half video. I have watched a good amount of his content. So maybe your interpretation is the correct one. But it was worded in a very vague way, which is why I interpreted the way I did. And you interpret it differently. So, that's fine. Again, like that, I think the lesson here is mainly for Rollo is to be a little bit more concise so that people don't misinterpret. Because like you can see in the video, it's not like I'm just disagreeing with things for the sake of disagreeing. I wound up agreeing with the 6 out of the 9 rules. So like I agree with like 60% of his rules. So, it was like an honest misinterpretation, I guess, if it is indeed was a misinterpretation, but it sounds like it is.
Would you now say that it's the way that I just interpreted it? Would you say that's legit and not BS?
Assuming that you're factually correct, then yes.
Yeah. I'm just hypothetically.
Yeah, assuming you're factually correct, then yes.
Okay, cool. Can we go?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
This one is bullshit. Rule number 4, never live with a woman who you're not married to and don't plan on marrying within 6 months. The logic he's using to justify this is that if you're living with someone, you can get what's called common law marriage. And so, like, let's say the relationship ends, she might fuck you over because, again, you're technically common law married. So first of all, this will heavily depend on the state that you live in. In some states, common law marriage doesn't kick in until like 3-4 years. Some states don't have it. So I think a good place to start is to actually look up the law in your particular state when it comes to common law marriage. Secondly, I would never, ever consider marrying a girl. And yes, I might in some alternative universe get married one day. I would never consider marrying a girl who I haven't lived with for an extensive period of time, because you really get to know someone like some next level shit when you guys are living together, right? And why would you consider marrying a girl who you haven't lived with for an extensive period of time? So I just don't really see his logic. I understand the point he's trying to make, but I just don't agree with the logic. So this one I would say is largely bullshit.
Okay, I'm assuming you disagree with that, or
I just want to elaborate a little bit and just a different perspective. I'm not going to agree with you. I'm just going to give you a different perspective.
Okay.
Right? When he's saying never live with a woman, never under any circumstances live with a woman you aren't married to or not planning to marry within 6 months.
Right.
Now, he said the 6 months was arbitrary. He said it could be 9 months. It could be a year. Whatever works for you. What he's trying to say is like, look, once you move in with a girl, the mystery is gone to the extent of like you're always there. She knows that you are no longer you don't have the surprise advantage anymore when you're living with a chick that you're not planning on marrying, because it's like, well, what is he doing? When you're not living with the girl, what is he doing? Oh my God, I haven't seen him in 3 days. Oh my God, I want to bang his brains out. When you're living with a girl regularly, it's just like, oh yeah, we could just no, we don't want to have sex tonight. We'll have sex tomorrow. Like it's also like he's saying like, hey, like if you want to keep things going and keep things hot and fiery, don't be rushing and moving into with somebody that you don't really want to commit to in the long term. And he's also saying this as in like, don't just move in with the girl, because he never said anything about common law. What he actually quoted was,
I never said he did say anything about common law. I'm just trying to figure out his logic.
Yeah. What he was trying to get at is like, look, you move in a girl into your place. Now you're living together, right? And everything was hot for the first 2 months. Now things are starting to slope down. Now you can't go out and find a new girl, because technically she has legal rights when you put her on a lease into that place. You can't kick her out. It's like, unless you're really committed and you want to marry this girl and you guys are going to get married in like 6 months or a year, then you could go ahead and move in. But if you're not really sure and you're just still kind of just dating and you're just kind of doing it for financial reasons, like, oh yeah, we could save money if we live together, like that's a bad reason, because anything can happen during that time. And let's say you guys break up. Now you're stuck paying for a lease that she kicked you out of, or you decide to move out of. and you're still financially liable for that lease. He's saying it's not smart to just move in with the girl, at all. Like, just unless you know you're going to marry her. Like, it has nothing to do with common law, because everybody that's looked in common law, there's no common law that says, 6 months you're together. Like, there's no state in the world or in this country that has a common law rule at 6 months. Most of them is 3, 5, and 7 years.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with common law. It's just saying, like, hey, why tie yourself down to somebody you're not sure? Why play wifey? Why play house with somebody you're not sure you really want to be with in the long run? Yeah, and I understand your logic. Like, well, when you're gonna get with somebody, you're gonna want to live with them for a little bit to make sure that you really want to move in with, to move on with them. And
yeah, like my issue with this is that he's completely getting this reversed. Why would you ever marry a girl who you haven't lived with for an extensive period of time? Like, the first step is to actually live with her, because if you haven't lived with someone for a period of time, you don't really know them that well. So of course, like this, like he literally has it flipped. Never, like, I think the rule should be never consider marrying a girl who you haven't lived with for 6 months. If he said it like that, like if he flipped those things, I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. But he literally flipped those things, and it's like never live with a girl who you don't plan on marrying within 6 months. My argument is that those two things should be reversed. I think you'd be hard pressed to, like, basically, disagree with that.
Okay, what I'm saying is the disagreement is.
He's like, would you ever, like, for example, like, what do you think about this? Would you ever marry a girl who you haven't lived with for an extensive period of time?
I would never marry a girl that I wouldn't live with a girl, for one, that I wasn't planning on getting married to in a short amount of time. Not like 6 months, maybe about a year. Like the girl, my girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years, and we lived together off and on for 3 years. But and she is wifey material. So when that time comes, that's something that, when I'm ready for you to do that, that's when we'll do it. But I wouldn't say that, like, and I agree with you. I'm living a lot longer with her, a lot longer, but we're already committed. We have a lot of business investments together.
You guys live together?
Yeah.
So you're breaking the rule.
No, it's not a rule. It's more of a. I mean, yeah, you can say I'm breaking the rule. But when the time
you are, because you're living with a girl, you've lived with her for 3 years, and you haven't married her yet, so you are breaking the rule, which is fine. It makes sense, but I'm just saying.
Essence of the rule. I'm not breaking the essence of the rule, because we're already committed, and like I just haven't done it with the state. I don't ever plan on getting married with the state. Does that make sense?
But I mean, this is, you're like, I feel like now you're kind of digging. Like, the rule is literally like can you read the rule verbatim for me, please, again?
Yeah, never under any circumstances live with a woman you aren't married to or not planning to marry within 6 months.
Bro, you're literally breaking that rule.
Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with, like, what you're saying about the rule. I have no problem saying, like, this rule and me, like, it doesn't apply to me. I don't live by these rules, these 9 iron rules, like, like they're the 10 commandments.
So you agree that the rule is pretty dumb, because otherwise you wouldn't be breaking it.
I agree that the rule has legitimate foundation, in the sense of, don't get involved with somebody that you're not going to be committed to for a long period of time, like for the rest of your life type of thing. Don't get, like, I know with my girlfriend, like, we've been together, I've known her for over 4 years. We have been through a lot of things together. We have business together. We do business together. We're both in the same industry together. We're out here in Kansas right now.
I get it. No, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong in your situation. Like,
I'm saying it's different from what he's trying to say. He's trying to tell guys, don't just meet a girl, think everything's great, move in with her, and then 6 months later be like, oh shit, now what do I got to do? He's saying,
listen, that is like purely your interpretation of the rule, and it is, I think, an interpretation that wants Rollo to be right. Like, if you actually look at the rule verbatim, the way you read it, literally, like, it makes no sense. It's like, okay, let me ask the question like this: do you think if you want to have a serious relationship, what do you think the first step should be? Marriage or living together? Like, what do you think the first step should be?
I think it should be dating.
Dating, but you want to take the next level.
I'm not gonna give it to you like moving together and then marriage. No, I'm gonna give it to you date.
Okay.
Vet them for a while. When things propose, You know, if after you dating with them, proposing them, because the proposal is not guaranteed. You're like, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, whatever. Let's take this to the next level. Now you propose, okay, move in, have a wedding plan date, get married.
But why would you propose before you try living with each other?
Because your proposal is not promised. It's not concrete. I mean, how many people break proposals all the time? It's just saying,
Yeah,
like,
you can break a proposal, sure, but like, why would you even like? I mean, at that point, you're heavily leading her on. Like, why not try living together and see how you guys do in close quarters before making the decision? Hey, do I want to just keep dating this girl? Do I want to have her be my booty call? Do I want to like? Why would you like think about even going to that? Like, marriage is, in my opinion, well, actually, the most extreme step is having kids. The step below that is marriage. Marriage is the second most extreme step. Why would you go there without trying out living with a person? Like, that to me seems like the next logical step. You've been dating, you like each other, you want to take things to the next level, try living together. If that works well, then consider marriage, but not before that. Doing it the other way is just crazy to me.
I think that's what he's saying. But the 6 months, as he said, is arbitrary. He's not saying like it has to be 6 months. He's saying like
It can be 9 months, right? But
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the 6 month thing. I have a problem with this whole idea that of putting the horse before the carriage.
Okay.
What's it called? Like, actually marrying the girl or proposing to the girl before you live with her. No, like, I'm saying the horses before the carriage. It should be the other way around. Live with the girl, then the next step is marriage, not the other way around. And it sounds like in your personal experience, you agree with me because you've also did it that way. You decided to live with a girl for 3 years, and now you're thinking maybe down the line of marrying her. So it sounds like in your own personal life, you agree with me. Like, yeah, of course you want to try living with her before I go to the next level of marriage.
Yeah, I mean, again, what he's trying to say is there's an order of operations to do it. And he's like, first you date a girl. Everything's great. Okay, now things are taking serious. You guys are talking about getting married. Because you got to look at it like the way things are operating these days, people moving in together and playing house, a lot of people break up that way and things get bad for them. Like, oh, I thought everything was great.
But they would have been a lot worse if those people were married and if the state was involved. Like, the order of operations is wrong. That's my issue. Before the marriage, it should be the living together. So I'm saying he got those two flipped. So yes, I agree. People move in together and shit falls apart. But if those people were married, the problem would be exponentially worse. So it's definitely better to move in together and have the relationship not work out than get married and then have the relationship not work out.
But you also understand that there's more invested value when you know, like, hey, we're getting married and we're committed, and there's a commitment level there, and then
but you should never go there unless you've lived with a girl.
That's what he's saying. Don't live with the girl unless.
No, he's saying the opposite. He's saying don't go to don't live together unless you've done unless you're planning on getting married. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying don't even consider marriage unless you've lived together. We're disagreeing on the order of operations.
Yeah, I can live with that. I mean, that's if that works for you, that's fine. But what I'm saying, like, the reason
but
why
it sounds like it also works for you. Like, I think you agree with me in your personal life.
Well, I mean, my situation works for me the way it does now. I'm not saying my situation is the way that every guy should do it. I agree with what he's saying, that for the general sake for men, don't move in with somebody that you're not committed to wanting to spend the rest of your time on here on this rock with. Okay? Because that is going to be a bad investment.
But you don't know if you want to spend the rest of your time on this rock with a girl unless you've lived together, because you don't truly know a person.
Somebody, I mean, like, me and my girl didn't live together for a long time, for a year and a half before we even got together, before we moved in. We didn't live together for a year and a half.
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes sense. But what I'm saying is you don't truly know someone that well. Yeah, you can know someone pretty well, but once you live together, you get to know them a whole lot better. So in the order of operations, you would want to live together before you consider like permanent commitment. Of course, there should be some commitment before you consider living together. But before going to the next level and getting marriage involved, which I think in of itself is a fairly bad idea for most men, before doing that, try living together and see how you guys do. Maybe you'll discover some things about her you don't like. Maybe she fucking farts in the middle of the night. Who knows? But like, you want to find that out before you get married.
And that's where the 6 months is. He's like, that you're planning on marrying this chick. So let's say you got a girl and you guys move in together, and you're planning on marrying this girl. You like her a lot, right? And then 6 months down the road, you're like, you know what? This is not the one. This is not the one. Well, good. You figured it out within the 6 months you're living with her before you got married, but you were already planning on getting married to her. But now you realize after living with her for 6 months, she's not the one for you.
But the problem is the rule should be reversed. It should be never consider marrying a girl who you haven't lived with for 6 months. That's how it should be.
Okay, I can agree with that. I can agree with the verbiage thing. It could be. I would say that would be a better or easily.
That is something I can agree with. That makes a lot more sense to me. Never consider marrying a girl who you haven't lived with for at least 6 months. Maybe it's 9 months. Maybe it's 5 months. Maybe it's a few years. For me, it would have to be a few years. But never consider marrying a girl who you haven't lived with for an extensive period of time. That's how the rules should be, not the other way around.
I can agree with that. I mean, I think that the same outcome would be available. Wouldn't you agree?
No, because when you flip those, it has a completely different meaning. That's like saying
no, the outcome will be the same because you still get to live with her for at least 6 months before you decide marrying her.
Shouldn't you wait? Say that again.
If you live with her for 6 months, right, and you're like, okay, we're taking things to the next level. This is going good. We could get married now. Now you're already getting married, or you move forward with getting married. Now you're living. Same thing as Rollo was saying. Like, okay,
no, because the premise is that you want to have an idea of before you even move in with her that you're gonna marry her within 6 months. I'm saying you're not capable of making that decision until you've lived with her for an extended period of time. You can't make that decision if you haven't lived with her for a period of time. So yeah, it would be like saying like, okay, like you can take a statement like never start a business with someone before before you sign a contract, right? But if you flip that and you say never sign a contract if you don't plan on starting a business, like you by flipping those, they can mean two different things and can have two completely different effect. So like flipping things can have a totally different meaning. But I don't think we're even disagreeing on much.
No, we're not disagreeing much on that.
We both agree that the rule should be flipped.
I would say the rule. Yeah, I would say the rule should be reworded.
Yeah, those two things should be flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's basically what I'm saying too. Okay. So let's keep going.
Rule number 3: any woman who makes you wait for sex isn't worth it. So what he's trying to say here is that, like you shouldn't be with girls who use sex as a power play, like, or like, who are using sex as a form of currency to manipulate you and get you to do shit. So definitely very much agree with that. Like any chick who ever tries to use sex as a form of control or power, like that's the last time she's going to see with you. That's a very unattractive behavior. And most girls will not do that because they realize that's kind of fucked up. Also, sex shouldn't be something that's just for the guy, right? Pretty much in every relationship I've ever been in, the chick wants to fuck me more than I want to fuck her. And that's not to say I don't want to fuck her, but like, sex is like, women can typically fuck more than men. And like, if sex is something that's for you and not for the girl, then you have another problem, right? So that's the first thing. The second big part of this is that, you should apply common sense to this. So yes, any girl who tries to use sex as a form of control should be out. But let's just say, for example, your girl's really sick that one night. Like, okay, so she can't fuck. That's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not a shit test. Or let's say, for example, you just met a girl and she feels uncomfortable having sex on her period. That's okay. You can try, but if she's not down, then just give it a few days. That's okay. Or let's say you meet a shy and experienced girl, has a low late count, and for example, she's not comfortable having sex on the first date. That's also okay. You can wait until the second or third date. Also not a big deal. So this one I think is largely legit.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with him. Do you have any criticism with this?
I think what he was trying to. I'll just say what I was trying to say, and then I think we kind of line up, but I think it's just differently presented. He's a woman that waits for sex by her action implies she's making you wait for sex. Sex is never worth the wait. And what he's basically saying is like, look, any woman that like you say you go on a date and the girl's like, you go on 4 dates with this chick and you're not getting anywhere, right? And she's like, oh no, I don't have sex until I get, till at least the 5th date. These rules that she's putting up. Because a woman knows whether or not she wants to fuck you within the first 5-10 minutes. Okay, in most cases. And I think you could agree with that. Like she already knows whether or not if she would be interested even in going that far with you. She's probably already thought about it.
I sort of agree. A girl knows if she would be interested in the idea of having sex with you, but she might not have made her mind up to fuck you. Like she might not make up her mind to fuck you until much later, but she knows that she's interested in the potential of fucking with you. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, like, basically saying the girl that puts up the rules that's saying like, oh, I don't have sex until the 5th date or something like that. Any woman that puts a rule on you, she'll break a rule for the guy, the Alex at the phone camming party with his 6-pack abs. And, she'll run by him and she might just bang him the first night.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's what he's trying to say is like a woman that's going to put rules on you her making you wait for the sex.
It's not worth it.
Never worth the wait in the long.
No, and I agree with that. I like that's why I said I agree with this rule. So yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. This rule makes sense. Like I'm agreeing with it. Yeah, okay. Let's keep on.
Shit, as long as you apply common sense to it. Rule number 2, never share the amount of sexual partners you've had. So the argument he's making here is that if you tell her about your sexual past, you're kind of giving the power away. And I think this one is 100% fucking bullshit. I'm actually surprised he wrote this because Rollo seems like a pretty rational guy. Yeah, rational male, rational guy. And I'm just surprised he would even entertain this logic. Like, this is such fucking nonsense. Any girl who I've been with, for any kind of extended period of time, I've shared with her my sexual escapades. Like, I'm not shy about the number of women I've had sex with. Like, it's not a big deal. It doesn't make the woman lose attraction. It doesn't give my power away. Like, it's a common thing I'll talk about with girls I'm hooking up with. Like, I'll love to ask, so what's your lay count? And then, I just love to, just hearing about their sexual past. Like, it's always funny stories, hearing about their, chody boyfriends or weird guys they've been on dates with, and, sharing funny stories that I have. So this one, I think, is 150% fucking bullshit.
Okay. I'm assuming you disagree with that?
I think that you're just misunderstanding what he's trying to say.
Okay.
And I'm going to quote Rich Cooper. Have you ever read Rich Cooper's work?
Yeah, not the biggest fan. He's the only person in the history of my podcast to flake last minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he says, guys, I'm loosely quoting him here.
Okay.
It says guys have a tendency to complicate their life, right, by their actions and the things that they. And what Rollo is trying to say here is look, don't complicate your life by. Leave it a little bit of mystery. Have some mystery with it. So how many girls you've been with? You'll be the first for the first girl tonight. Just leave a little mystery. If you tell your girl, some girl, oh yeah, I think you have a 500 lay count. I think that's what was quoted. I heard, that you just gave her stupid fuel down the long run that she could try to throw in your face. Like, oh, you probably fucked that girl too, didn't you? Like, you and your girl could be in an argument and you could be somewhere like, oh, you fucked that girl too, didn't you, with your 500 lay count? He's basically saying, don't disclose information that you don't necessarily need to tell, but it's not going to be pertinent to anything. It's not going to benefit your sex life with her, knowing how many girls that you banged. You know what I'm saying? Just leave it a mystery. She doesn't.
Can you read the rule verbatim for me, please?
Yeah, it says, never under pain of death, honestly or dishonestly reveal a number of women you slept with, or explain any details of your sexual experiences with them to a current lover.
Yeah, so that's completely different than what you're saying. I agree. Yeah, have some mystery is good, sure, and don't overcomplicate your life, sure. But the rule is literally never under the penalty of death. And maybe he's being hyperbolic, fine. But it's a strong statement. It's never reveal your sexual history to a past or current lover. That's not the same thing as you're saying.
I think he's being a little bit
hyperbolic.
Are we? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, dude.
Okay, cool. I think he's saying never be he's saying basically never just what he's saying is never share with a girl details about your sexual history. That's what he's saying. Yeah. Basically, because it's no point. Women, you know how many times women will use that against you?
It's never happened. It's never happened to me once. I'm
having bad connection.
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out. I don't know. Do you maybe want to fix your Wi-Fi or something? Or
let me walk out of the room and I'll come back in.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, hey, Torsha's here. Torsha's my new BFF. Oh.
All right, is that better?
This is better?
I can hear you good now.
Yeah, okay, cool, sweet. So the rule is, okay, let's assume for argument's sake he's being very hyperbolic. Okay, I'll grant you that. He probably is being hyperbolic. And what he actually means is don't share your sexual history with a girl. Never share your sexual history. That's that. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you should share your sexual history. I don't think there's like a big advantage to doing that. I'm just saying that this idea that you can't is dumb, because you can, and there's not going to be any consequences to sharing your sexual history with a girl. I've done it with pretty much every girl I've ever been with. I've never once had any negative consequences to doing that. I'm not saying you have to or it's going to benefit you, but there's a big difference between something not benefiting you and something hurting you. Like, if there's a big difference between me saying, hey, Glenn, I think going to the gym is not really going to benefit you that much, to me saying, Glenn, never go to the gym. Like, those two are completely different statements. So, like, yeah, I'm arguing against the negative. I'm not arguing for the positive.
Yeah, and I think what he's trying to say is like, look, explaining your sexual past really doesn't benefit your current relationship. So why add problems to your current relationship while bringing up your sexual past?
What kind of problems is it going to add? I've never had it add any problems. I've always told the girls, like, if a girl asks me, what's your sexual history? I tell them. Like, I don't think it hurts you in any way. And there's some credence to it because it encourages transparency. And generally speaking, transparency is a good thing. So if you're in a relationship, you probably want to have transparency with your partner. And I've never once been shy about sharing my sexual past, and it's never once come back to hurt me. So
I think on paper what you're trying to say sounds good, but what I was getting as, like, there's guys, and you're saying it from a personal standpoint. You're saying, I never experienced this, so this must
me
never
and any
happen.
of my clients, I mean, we can only speak from personal experience. He's also going from his personal experience. I would argue that my personal experience is much more important because I fucked hundreds of girls. He's only fucked 40. So I would argue that my personal experience is a lot more credence than his. But either way, we're both going off personal experience.
Well, what he's trying to say is, like, look, never. It's not saying never, but it's like, it doesn't benefit a guy.
But he is saying never. But I see, like, now I feel like you're trying to, like,
you're quoting him verbatim. He's saying, never do this
under penalty of death. Okay, let's take that out because he's being hyperbolic. Never.
Yeah, never explain, never, tell your partner about your sexual past, because it doesn't benefit your current relationship. That's really what.
But it doesn't hurt you. But if it doesn't hurt you, then why say never? That's the thing. Like, if he had said sharing your past sexual history won't benefit you in any way, I wouldn't take issue with that, because he's saying there's no benefit to it. There might be a small benefit, but it's not significant. I agree with that. I don't think it's going to, like, make a big difference and help you in some significant way. I agree with that, but it's also not going to hurt you. That's what I'm taking issue with, is that him saying that this will actually hurt you, and I'm saying that is incorrect.
Well, I'm saying women will use that as in arguments later down the road, and
that's never happened to me or any of my clients, though.
But that's your small, like, your sphere of people. You can't speak for everybody. He's just saying, like, look, but I can, on a general standpoint. That's true.
I cannot speak for everyone, but I can speak for a decent percentage of guys.
It's a general rule. Like, look, don't get in details about your sexual experience with your ex to your current girl, because now your current girl's gonna be like, oh, was she a better lover than me? Oh, well, you're gonna just go fuck Tiffany again, aren't you?
Okay.
It's just like, there's no point in
let me give you a better analogy. Let me give you a better analogy, Glenn. Okay, let's take something acupuncture, kind of controversial in medicine, right? Some people believe in it, some people don't. So if someone says, if a doctor was saying in a book, like some doctor was like, acupuncture doesn't really offer any scientifically proven substantial benefits. Okay, that's fine. However, if a doctor had said, never ever go to acupuncture, that's something completely different. Glenn, are you there?
Okay.
Do you see the difference there between a doctor saying, oh, acupuncture does not offer any big benefits, so maybe don't bother with it? That's fine. Okay. Or saying never, ever go to acupuncture under the penalty of death. That's something completely different, because now he's making it seem like doing acupuncture can be very hurtful to your outcome. And that's something completely different than saying it doesn't help you, so maybe there's no point in doing it. That's fine. That's completely different than never, ever do it.
Okay.
And that's my issue. My issue is with the strong negative. I'm not making the argument that that revealing your body count is like this technique that's going to help you. I think there might be some credence to it, but I don't think it's going to be substantial. But what I'm taking the issue with the saying that never ever do it. That's what I find problematic because it doesn't really hurt you. At least not from anything.
Would you say if something doesn't benefit you, then why would you bring it up? If it's not going to benefit your relationship, because I don't think there's a guy on this planet that's saying, yeah, when I told my girl that I fucked 75 million women, it's made her want me more. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I'm not saying it's going to significant. The only way it could help you is with if in a relationship with transparency, but that's a small thing. Because there's a lot of things that we do that don't benefit us simply because we don't hurt us. Like you ever like sit around with your friends and drink beer and bullshit for like an hour? You just waste time playing video games and bullshitting. It doesn't help your life in any way, but it doesn't hurt you, so you do it. Right? Because maybe you're curious, maybe you're bored, whatever. Like you just do like whatever. I mean, you like to vape, right? Clearly. So like, like there's no real benefit to you vaping, but you just do it because whatever. It's like, it's fun to have some smoke in your mouth. I like to smoke hookah. Same thing. So, but if I had said, Glenn, never ever under the penalty of death vape, that's completely different than me saying, hey, Glenn, do you know that vaping doesn't actually benefit you in any way?
Oh yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, guys, going back to what Rich Cooper was saying, guys like to add problems to their life, complicate their lives, and that's just a complicating thing. You could complicate your life by saying, "Oh, disclosing all this information."
Yeah, but by that logic, you can simplify your life even more by like jerking off all day and not meeting women. Adding women to your life complicates it in of itself.
No. My hand and a woman's vagina is completely different.
I agree with you, but so if you're gonna add women to your life, you're already complicating significantly. Complication is the price you pay.
That's just like the thing is, why complicate it more?
But by that logic, why not just pretend like you're a deaf mute and like pretend like you can't talk, because that will make things even easier. Like by that logic, that's just kind of like odd, an odd notion.
You already agreed that like it doesn't benefit you. And I'm just saying, like,
I'm saying it doesn't benefit you significantly. Yes.
Yeah. So if it doesn't benefit you significantly, why bring something into a relationship? And this is just a relationship, because you can't use me vaping and a relationship different. Because a relationship is something two people are trying to develop and grow on. It's just saying like, it's like saying like, why bring all your problems from your past into our new relationship?
Because after you fuck a girl, you're laying in bed, you're just shooting the shit. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with talking about your sexual history as part of shooting the shit. Like I do that all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't hurt you in any way. There's no strong benefit when I'm laying in bed with a girl and just fucking around. It doesn't benefit me to talk about it, but it doesn't hurt me either. So I do it because it's fun. Like it's fun to talk about like crazy past set stories, and then you hear the girl stories. It's just fun. It doesn't benefit you. You're right, but it doesn't hurt you.
Like I don't ever want to hear a woman's story about her sexual past. Like to me, it's irrelevant. Like
okay, I mean you're not different. I enjoy what's it called? I enjoy hearing those stories, but you're not different in that sense. Okay, that's fine. But there's a big difference again between saying never do something and saying it doesn't benefit you. Like those two are not the same things. And if Rollo had said, what's it called? Like, hey, telling a girl about your lay count doesn't benefit you, there would be no issue. I would not take issue with that. But that's not what he said. Like again, like we can't like completely change what he said.
No. Okay, I agree. I agree with you on that. I mean, I agree with your assessment of it. I still think that it doesn't benefit you, so there's no point in bringing it up to a person that you're trying to have a relationship with. I think it's irrelevant. But I mean, if it works for you, that's fine. I think what he's basically trying to say, generalizing it, is just like, it doesn't benefit you. Don't bring something that doesn't benefit your relationship into your relationship. And that's all I'm trying to say that he's trying to
But the problem from it. That's my issue with that, and then we can move on to the next point. My issue is that I feel like the way he says it, it makes people paranoid. So a guy might be laying in bed with a girl and he like wants to like talk about his sexual past or her sexual past, and he feels like he can't do it because he thinks it's going to hurt him. And that's what I don't like. This paranoia where a guy wants to do, like, look, if a guy doesn't want to do it, I'm not saying he has to, but that's what I took issue with. But it sounds like we're kind of agreeing anyway, so we can move on.
Yeah, no. From that, like, I think the wording is wrong.
Rule number 1, frame is everything. So basically saying that you should always control the frame without making it seem like you're controlling the frame. This woman should always be in your frame. So this one, I would say I'm 50-50 on. So I do think that frame is important, and it is better if the girl is in your frame more than you're in her frame. However, that being said, like, you don't want the whole relationship to be just one giant frame battle. That sounds like a fucking nightmare. Like, first of all, it's not going to be successful because there's going to be constant friction because you're constantly, playing these frame control wars, and that's just going to throw off the vibe of your, hangout sessions. Second of all, it's just not something that I really would ever want to be in myself. Like, you want to be with a chick, like, long-term who you can relax with. You can just be at ease. You can be yourself. You don't have to worry about little shit. You're not constantly trying to game her. You shouldn't also be trying, like, constantly control the frame. Like, again, that just sounds like being in a dynamic that I don't want to be with. Like, imagine, your best friend who is someone you take road trips with and you hang out with. It's someone who you feel like you always have to control the frame. Otherwise, that friendship is going to end. That sounds like a fucking nightmare, and you wouldn't want to be in that friendship. It's the same thing with relationships. So this one, I would say, is very largely bullshit. All right.
Okay. I would actually rephrase what I said. I'm like 50-50 on that one. But okay, so what do you have a disagreement with that one?
Yeah. I definitely think that do you know what mental point of origin means?
I've heard that term before, but can you explain it to me?
So a mental point of origin is basically saying like how you filter your decisions, right? I'm my mental point of origin. So when I make a decision, like I disclosed to you, I'm in the film industry. So I do a lot of work and I'm growing out the beard and stuff, getting ready for a Western film. When I'm getting ready for a role, my girlfriend, whether or not she likes the film or not, doesn't come across my mind as in the determining factor of what I'm going to do if I'm going to take that film. Let's say there's an actress that she doesn't like on this project. That's not going to stop me from working on this film. I am my own mental point of origin. I process what decisions I make, what's best for me. And that is frame. Like, so when you control the frame, you're saying, I'm going to make decisions on what's best for me all the time. And if whatever my plan is, what I'm going to be doing in life is going to be best on what I have planned. Somebody else is not going to dictate or determine what my plan is. I am going to be true to my plan. I'm my mental point of origin. So it's like I think about what I want first and when the outcome that I want. And that's the frame that I live in. And I control that frame. Basically, it's also like having boundaries in a relationship and standards. Would you not agree that you have certain standards for the women that you get with, right?
Of course.
Would you also say that you have certain behaviors that you will not tolerate from women?
Of course. Yeah, definitely. Hello? Are you there, man? Glenn? Hello? Damn, we keep losing again. Yo, can you hear me?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yep.
I'm here. I'm good.
Yep.
Would you say that you have like the strict behaviors that you would not tolerate from women?
Yeah, of course.
So you have boundaries, right? You have boundaries and you have standards.
Yeah.
That's part of your frame. That's literally what he's saying. He's always being in control of the frame, being in control of your standards, being in control of what you determine is acceptable and have boundaries. That's the frame that you live in. Okay, like I'll use an example. A girl that I'm with, I don't want her dressing like a slut, right? I don't want her going out there in very revealing clothing. To me, that's advertising to the world what you have, which if you're with me should be mine. So you shouldn't be showcasing that. That to me is like me walking around, with my dick out or something and trying to sling dick to women. Like it's just not.
I mean, yeah, it's not exactly the same, but I see your point. Yeah.
Okay, so if my girl decides to dress that way, and I already told her,
I understand what you're getting at. You're talking about standards and boundaries, which totally makes sense to me. Can you read the rule verbatim, please?
Yeah. It says, frame is everything. Always be aware of the subconscious balance of whose frame you're operating. Okay. Always control the frame, but resist giving the impression that you are.
Okay. All right, there we go. That's the rule. Now let's do. I'm going to share my screen and let's look up the definition of frame because I think you're defining it completely differently than the way.
Well, I'm using an example to define frame.
All right, but let's take a look at the actual definition. That's the way people are going to interpret it. Wait, hang on.
Hello, friend.
I don't know why I clicked on that. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look at Girls Chase is pretty good website. I asked an article, one feature I would like to see more. It's the painting the picture in a way that only speaks to you, but everyone who's looking. Okay, frame control really is painting the picture in a way that not only speaks to you, but the way everyone is looking at it. That's kind of like a weird definition, so let me find another one. I see what they're trying to say. Okay, let's go to psychology. Simply put, a frame is your interpretation of reality. Okay, that's also kind of a odd definition. I want to find like establish meaning. Okay, this is a pretty good one. What is frame control? Frame control is the process by which you establish the meaning of a communication or interaction. So, for example, we're having this debate, and I can, like, for example, try to set the like, Glenn, are you there? We keep losing Glenn.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Are you? I can't see you at all anymore.
I just got my phone. I got my phone glitched real quick. Hold on.
Okay, well, yeah, just take your time, dude.
Hold on, wrong button. Here we go. There. Hold on. Where are you? There you are. Okay, I'm here. Sorry.
You're there. Okay, cool. All right, let's go on. Okay, let's pull up like LinkedIn, a guide to practicing frame control. It's interesting that they have this article. What is frame? Frame is the context in which you perceive your world. It is boundaries around the experience of meaning you place in a frame as a mental structure. Okay, let's get to frame control. Frame control is your ability to strengthen or sustain your frame. Frame control is often your most important aspect of navigating relationships. Is vital for, yeah. I mean, they define it kind of complex, but basically, frame control is your version of reality. That's the simplest way to explain it. Your version of reality. So, for example, we're having a debate, and God damn it, we keep losing Glenn. Glenn, are you there?
I'm still here. I'm here.
Okay, we keep losing you, but okay. So there could be like when you go on a date, for example, you might get into like a constant like frame battle, right? The girl's like, her frame might be, I don't want to go home with you tonight because it's our first date, and your frame might be, it's totally cool for a girl to have sex with a guy on the first date, right? Like. Yeah, like Torsia said, frame is your reality. Yeah, exactly, right? However, right, if you're constantly getting in frame control battles with your partner, that can get kind of like taxing, emotionally taxing. You don't want to have your relationship be a constant frame control battle because that's just emotionally turmoil, right? Like at some point, the frame control behaviors have to end, and you just have to be able to relax and like trust the person that you don't have to constantly frame control them.
No, it's not like, look, it's not. I'm always I'm always in control of my frame. The people that I want in my life will be in my life, and people I don't want in my life won't be in my life, right? So if my girl behaves a certain way that's against my frame, she doesn't have to be in my life. I'll remove her from my life. It's just like if a girl cheats on you, you're not going to take her back. That's a hard no. That's being in control of your frame. It's also this. Let's say, Alex, you got a job in let's say you got a job in Germany, right? You got to be there for 2 years, and you're going to make $3 million in that 2 years. And let's say that's a good business for you. That's a good promotion for you. And let's say you're married, and your wife goes to you, well, I don't want to live in Germany for 2 years. You're gonna be like, well, it's just not gonna go now because she doesn't want to go? No, that's controlling the frame. Would be like, you know what? Hey, guess what? I got this promotion. We're moving to Germany for 2 years. Well, I'm moving to Germany for 2 years. I don't know where you're going. You can come with me if you want to go. But if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. But I don't know where we're going to be at. Do you just see what I'm saying? Like controlling the frame is, you can only control your frame. You can't control their frame. But
the whole point of frame control is to put the girl in your frame.
No, you don't control her. I don't put my girl in my frame. A girl wants to be in my frame. That's the difference. You have to your frame has to be so tight that she rather sacrifice her frame to live in your frame. And it's not controlling the frame. You're just controlling your frame. You can't control someone else's frame. You can't control someone else's actions. You can only control what you want in your life and what you allow in your life and what you won't allow in your life. And that's really what he's saying. It's like always be in control. Make sure that the things that are going on in your life are the things that you want and you allow. And it's not necessarily what somebody else dictates for you. Don't let someone else be like, oh, when you're thinking about things, is so-and-so going to like it if I do this? If this benefits you, then you do it. Don't worry about whether or not someone else is going to be mad at you.
But there has to be some, in a relationship, there has to be some reasonable amount of compromise. Would you not agree?
I think there is to a degree, but there's not when it comes to your frame. I think we could compromise the color of the house. We could compromise on the color of the furniture, but we're not going to compromise on where we live, because if I work in this area, this is where I'm going to live. Does that make sense?
Well, you can also somewhat find a reasonable compromise in where your home is. Like if your home is like let's say you guys your guys' jobs are like 2 hours apart. Like you could live 5 minutes away from your job and 2 hours away from her job. That might be too far from you. So maybe a more reasonable compromise is living like halfway or something like that. So there does need to be some reasonable level of compromise. I'm not saying that you're compromise all your values, but there needs to be some level of compromise. Otherwise, you're just gonna be butting heads the whole time. And if you force the girl to constantly, like it's either your way or the highway, that's what I find problematic.
Okay, like I did this post about this stream about men in control versus controlling men. Women find men in control sexy and find controlling men disgusting. A man in control is only in control of himself. A controlling man is trying to dictate his will onto someone else. So I'm not controlling at all. Look, if I live here and I work here, okay, and I don't want to live over there because my work is here, it's not a control. I'm giving you the option. You can live over there, but I'm living over here because this is where I work. This is where I want to live. Okay, it's not.
But again, that's sort of like your way or the highway.
It's not controlling though.
I'm not saying it's controlling. I'm not saying that's controlling. I'm not even necessarily saying that you're incorrect for wanting that. I'm pretty selfish too. I would want that too. But I'm saying that like this constant like your way or the highway is not the best mindset to have for a relationship. Like there should be some reasonable amount of compromise.
What I'm saying is it's not that compromise is not accepted. It's that like over the frame of everything, the whole frame of your life, the things that you want to do in your life, you have to be the mental point of origin. Okay, because a lot of guys fall into this happy wife, happy life mentality.
Yeah, I agree. That's fucked up.
Right? And that's right there is their wife is controlling their frame. Their wife is their mental point of origin. And what he's saying is, no, guys, you need to be the mental point of origin of your own life. And you need to control your own frame. And whether or not your woman wants to be in your frame or not, that's her choice. But don't sacrifice your frame to please her, because in the long run, it's not going to suit her. And she's going to despise you for sacrificing your frame. And think about this. If you sacrifice your frame for a woman's going to look at that and be like, you know what? He really wasn't secure with himself. He really wasn't secure with his own frame that he was so quick to sacrifice his frame for mine. And that women, if women like security, they're not going to see very much security in a man that sacrifices his frame like that. Does that make sense?
No, dude, I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I live my life exactly that way too. Like, if you look at my relationship, I'm certainly not like some like pushover or happy wife, happy life type of nonsense. Like, not even close to that. I'm just the point. The way it seems like you and I interpret this rule completely differently, or maybe not completely, but largely differently. And I interpreted in a different way than you. I agree, as a man, you should have strong boundaries and strong standards and not like just put up with like this or that. But I think that this black and white, my way or the highway mentality is not constructive to a successful relationship. And that's kind of how I interpreted the rule, is that like you always have to, like the girl always has to be in your frame. And what I was saying, she doesn't always have to be in your frame. Like sometimes you can just like let go and not give a shit whose frame you're in. You can just relax around your girlfriend. Like you don't have to worry about her being in your frame. That's kind of how I interpreted it. It sounds like you interpreted it differently.
I think you're misunderstanding it. Like for me, like I'm relaxed with my frame. I already know what I'm willing to accept and what I won't accept. I'm cool with my frame.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying you interpret it differently than me.
I'm relaxed around my girl with my frame. My girl accepts my frame. My girl loves my frame. She agrees with my frame. So I'm relaxed. There's no frame clashing. She already knows the standard of what I'm going to be with and who I'm going to be with and what they have to maintain.
Right. But when you're out with your girlfriend, are you constantly thinking like, oh shit, is she my frame or am I in her frame right now?
No, I don't think that at all.
Exactly. Right. That's the point I'm making. You can relax around your girl.
But you know why? Is because I established the boundaries. I established the standards and I made that groundwork and said,
yes, boundaries and standards are great. They're very important. I agree with you.
That's what and she knows I'm my mental point of origin. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do what's best for us and what we're going to do, and what's with the goal that I'm shooting us to go for. If I'm the captain of the ship and I'm sailing this ship, the first mate has to trust the captain and knowing what the captain's doing. Okay, so if I'm saying, hey, we're going to take this route, or this is the plan that we're going to do, we're going to execute this plan. I'm not going to have a mutiny on my hand with somebody that's does it and to see the full picture. Okay, so me and my girl go out all the time, and it's fine. I don't worry about whose frame I'm in or because it's not a constant battle.
Right.
You know, it's set up boundaries. It's set up saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. It works for me. And if I decide to step out of that, that's fine. That's your choice. But you have to understand what you're risking when you do that. What you're risking is I'm not going to be here with that behavior or that type of action. That's something like, it's almost like a Christian getting with the Satanist, and the Satanist said, you got to become a Satanist. And the Christian's like, wait a minute. No, I'm not going to do that. You know?
Yeah, bro, I get everything you're saying. Like, if the rule was have strong boundaries and standards and lead in a relationship, I'll be like, oh, this is great. Right? That's what you're saying.
That's very much part of frame.
I mean, yeah, I interpreted it fairly differently. Like, I interpret it as like you're constantly playing this game of frame control, and she has to be in your frame, which again I think is good. Like, if I'm trying to bang a girl, I am very conscious of like, okay, like, I mean, at this point, not so much, but like when I was learning again, I'm like, okay, like the girl is in my frame. That's a good thing. That means I can get what I want. But when I get into a relationship with a girl, like that stuff, like just leaves my brain. I just start relaxing. I'm not thinking about whose frame we're in. Sounds like you're the same exact way. You and I are exactly the same way. We're talking about the same thing. We both have strong boundaries, strong standards, and we both lead in our respective relationships, right? That's all good. Like we're not disagreeing on how we lead, like how we are in our relationships. What we are disagreeing on is how we interpreted that rule. You interpret it in a much more healthy, holistic way, which is like, yeah, just, have strong whatever boundaries, be a leader, have strong standards. I interpret it in a more toxic way, like always make sure that the girl is falling into your frame, that you're not accidentally falling into her frame. So we just interpreted the rule differently.
Okay, I can see that, but I think the way, would you agree that the way that I just interpreted that rule, that you would agree with that definition of frame?
Say that again. Sorry.
You just said we interpreted differently, but you said you agree with everything that I said.
Yeah, I definitely do. Of course.
So then you would say that the way that I interpreted, you would agree with that rule then?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's.
I just didn't interpret it in that way. I interpreted it in a more toxic way. But I mean, I'm not even necessarily saying I'm right. I'm just, I mean, maybe he meant it exactly the way you just described it. That's not how I read it, though.
Well, I mean, okay, that's interpretation, and then that's also with me doing the research and doing the reading and studying his work. That's exactly how I would lay it out. If I was going to do a breakdown video of the 9 iron rules, that's how I would read it out. And you would say, okay, I agree with that.
Yeah, totally.
So again, I think it's just misinterpretation and maybe not necessarily, as you said, you read some of his work, but you haven't really indulged in it.
Well, I think the way he wrote that is very open to interpretation. I don't think my interpretation is like super crazy. Like I just interpret it pretty literally, and you interpret it in a more healthy, holistic way.
I
don't think my interpretation is like super crazy. I think there's other people who interpret it similar to me. I just think you interpret it in like, again, in a more healthy, holistic way. That's all.
And would you say that like maybe hypothetically speaking, maybe applying that interpretation the way I did was probably more healthier, beneficial to guys rather than the way that you interpret it?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that's cool.
But this goes back to the whole issue that I actually don't think Rollo is I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. I guess the easiest way to put this, I don't really trust Rollo. Like, I think he has a weird agenda. I think he doesn't really care that much about helping guys, and it's largely ego for him. So that's why I'm more likely to interpret it in a negative way versus I think if I thought Rollo was a really good guy, I would be more likely to interpret it in the way you did. And I think you probably respect Rollo a lot more than I do, which is why you interpret it in a more healthy way and I interpret it in a more negative way. That's all. I think that's the reason for the interpretations.
When I first fell on Rollo's work, I was very confused by it and was like very hesitant. I had to really understand.
Like someone said this. I hear tons of Rollo fanboys interpret the way Alex said. So yeah, so like I'm not the only one that's interpreted that way. Like my interpretation, I don't think it's crazy.
Well, I believe I think Savo's backstage. He's a
yeah, he is. I mean, I wish he told me that he was gonna log on. I would have like I don't know, like I would have dedicated some time to having him on. Yes, Savo, like hang on a second because I don't want to cut our chat short with Glenn. Yeah.
No, I think we really went through it all, and I think I'm not into like ganging it up on you at all.
No, I didn't take it that way. I mean, I think you are literally the best. You made the best, I guess, critiques in favor of Rollo that I've ever heard. I just think that you have a more optimistic, healthy, holistic interpretation of his work, and I have a more literal, pessimistic interpretation. But then again, that largely falls into like how we perceive him. And I think you probably respect Rollo a lot, and I have close to no respect for him.
But then again, what our worldview and how we view people does paint our perception. But
I want to be clear. I'm not like a negative Nancy. I like and respect a whole lot of people. It's not Rollo is just not one of them.
I'm just saying the way that we view certain people also determines how we will view their work. So if you have a negative view of him in general, you're probably going to have a slated negative, tainted view of what he's trying to say. And as I think in the video, you were struggling at times to even say that you agreed with him.
No, I mean, like, no, I don't think I'm like ideologically stuck. Like I've said several times throughout this podcast that I agree with you. I have no problems agreeing with someone. Well, like obviously it doesn't help the fact that he literally accused me of killing people. Like stuff like that probably rubs me the wrong way. So like there's a reason why I don't like the guy.
I don't know the beef. Like, I mean, I've never heard that personally. And I probably didn't catch that stream or that bit or whatever he said it. If he did, I think that's, I don't know the context of what he said it in. I don't think you're going around killing people.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I certainly like to think that I don't kill people either. I mean, there's a whole bunch of like ethically questionable things that Rollo does. And some things that are just dead wrong. But yeah, I just think this comes down to like we interpreted his rules a bit differently. But not all of them. Some of them we can interpreted the same way. So
I think it was a healthy debate. I think I would like to think that with the different perspective that I have that you have, and as you said that they were more healthy and holistic and positive, I think you would say that you would want to apply, and can't speak for you, but I would like to think that you would want to apply those perspectives and share those with other men in your audience. Would you disagree with that?
Wait, say that again.
The comments that you said that you have that you agree they're a little more healthier and holistic and positive. I think that you would want to share that with your audience in that context. Like, this is a good, hey, I may have read it this way, but you know what? Glenn Lawrence told me this way, and I think that if you apply it this way, this will be beneficial to you guys.
Yeah, I would admit that, but I wouldn't probably would I? Yeah, I would agree with the fact that if you apply it in a healthy way, that's a good thing. I don't think he's saying anything revolutionary or anything that I haven't said like a million times in all my podcasts. So would I acknowledge it? Yeah, sure. But would I really stress that? Probably not, because again, there's nothing like revolutionary or something I haven't already said multiple times in like various podcasts. So yeah, I mean, again, like there's, I mean, I think that's basically it. I mean, like the things like that I find the most problematic about Rollo, I'll just quickly list them off because I think there's too many to go through. But I would say, one, the fact that he's completely unwilling to debate anyone who's not completely blue-pilled. Two, the fact that he can be very disgenuine by saying things like Alex kills people. Three, the fact that I think that he's just been out of the game for so long, and he's no longer credible authority on the topic because he's been married for 20 years. For the fact that I feel like he's a hypocrite in some ways, in a lot of ways, actually. So yeah, like he just launched a fucking NFT. That's problematic in of itself. So there's a lot of things issues I have with Rollo, but not everything. I do think he does some good for the community.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if you'll be opposed to this, but I think, Sabo's in there. I think we should, hop on and just, have a decent conversation with the three of us and just see if maybe we could find some common ground